Tim, welcome to the Playbook Podcast, man.
Alec, good to see you, buddy.
So tell me more about Somnee and how you guys are revolutionizing sleep.
Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about the history. So Somni was started by four renowned neuroscientists at UC Berkeley. One of them, Dr. Robert Knight, ran the Neuroscience Institute at Cal. The other is a guy named Dr. Matt Walker, probably one of the most famous neuroscientists in the world when it comes to the science of sleep. He wrote the book Why We Sleep. But they spent about 5 years trying to determine what was the most effective form of neurostimulation to help with sleep onset as well as sleep maintenance. Sleep maintenance
Okay.
is disruptions throughout the night, and then improving overall quality of sleep and deep sleep. And so they spent 5 years of R&D trying to figure that out. They looked at different forms of neuromodulation and neurostimulation. They landed on this personalized alternating current. They patented this unique approach. They found that it was most effective. It was a direct pathway to the frontal cortex, which manages your
Okay.
brain. And
Sure.
so that's the foundation of the technology. Is the other piece is EEG. So essentially what we've done is we've taken lab grade tech from Matt's lab, if you go to any sleep lab, we're using EEG. We miniaturized it. EEG maps your brain, so it's the gold standard. So we need to have an accurate understanding of what's happening with your brain in order to perform the neurostimulation. The way it works is you wear the product. The session is about 15 minutes.
Okay.
EEG maps your brain, determines what is your optimal state for sleep. The AI models are mapping, processing, and then we determine what is the most effective form of neurostimulation. It takes about, I call it a baseline, but it takes about 2 to 5 sessions to establish your optimal state for sleep. And then we
Okay.
move into personalization and then optimization and maintenance. But it's a headband. You can wear it for 15 minutes before bed, or you can wear it all night. The benefit of wearing it all night is you're getting clinical grade sleep data sets. EEGs, as I mentioned, is the gold standard, far more accurate than any of the wearables that are worn downstream from the head. So that's something that's important, as I mentioned. But yeah, that's how it works. And we're really excited about it. We have our Gen 2 product that just came out.
Yeah, super exciting. The device sounds so complicated, but I know it's super simple. Can you talk more about just how, like, athletes and people interested in, high performance are integrating it into their routines today?
Yeah, so we announced so the NBA is an investor in Somni. We basically went through a gauntlet. It was almost like a Shark Tank study with them that looked at the product, the technology. The NBA was part of the beta process and the testing with the new product that just came out. We had great results. So as part of that study, we added 37 minutes of sleep. We reduced sleep onset for this cohort. It was 24 minutes. The national average is about 20 minutes. We reduced that to 8 minutes. Pretty much across every metric, we saw an improvement. We presented at the NBA Summer League. But as you can imagine, everyone's talking about sleep. 1 in 3 people struggle with it, but athletes in particular, they understand the importance of sleep and how it impacts their performance, court, on the field, et cetera. And it goes beyond that because obviously sleep research can be tied to, speeding up recovery, injury prevention. There's a number of different clinical studies that are out there that talk about sleep and performance. I think one of the more famous ones Stanford did. They looked at athletes and improving sleep, adding an extra hour and a half to sleep. We saw an improvement in free throws, 3-point percentage.
For sure.
Andre Iguodala was one of those guys. But yeah, there's a ton of science that looks at sleep and its impact on player performance.
Yeah, and you mentioned this is like way more than just like kind of your average wearable. You guys have like some of the most advanced sensors and stuff. What kind of data are people looking at when they're like measuring how they're sleeping?
We're tracking time in bed
Okay.
and obviously time actually sleeping, which is important because there's some products that are just tracking your time in bed, and we're looking at both metrics. We're tracking, overall sleep stages. That even, I helped launch Fitbit back in the day. You know, sleep stages is the brain is the last great mystery of the body, and
For
so
sure.
for us, being able to accurately allow people to understand what's happening during their sleep, when they're waking up. these aren't guesstimations. This is at a clinical level. There's a lot of interest in that. But ultimately, people are coming to us because they want the therapeutic benefit of what we do, which is helping you fall asleep and stay asleep. So that's obviously
100%.
what our secret sauce is. But we're finding there's, there are a lot of users that are buying the product. They don't necessarily have, sleep issues consistently, but they're really interested in the clinical data sets because they may have other like health conditions where, everyone knows the importance of sleep on your physical health, your mental health, your general health. So being able to plug those data sets ultimately into the healthcare ecosystem is, that's where we're headed, and we're going to be rolling out an API and some new features in 2026.
Hell yeah, man. Exciting times. You kind of teased on my next question, but you were originally the CMO of Fitbit, and now you
Mhm.
transformed into sleep tech entrepreneur and
Mhm.
CEO. Can you talk about that journey?
Yeah, it actually was really easy. At Fitbit, we helped create the category of wearables. When I started, it was the US. I think ultimately we're selling in over 100 countries. During my tenure, we sold about 140 million devices. And to kind of give you
Wow.
context on that,
Crazy.
Aura just announced, an $11 billion valuation on 5 million units. So 140 to 5
Crazy.
million.
Yeah.
And that was in a 7-year window. And we started around the same time as Aura. And yeah, it was awesome. We learned a lot. We introduced, heart rate tracking. We introduced sleep tracking,
Hmm.
or
Yep.
what our legal team would say more like sleep trend tracking, because again, they're not truly accurate sleep stage data sets. But I think Fitbit gets a lot of credit for creating the category of wearables and introducing the idea of a general diagnostic that's looking at your overall health. So it was a really good run, and we ultimately sold the company to Google. How that relates to this company? Well, now I have, Fitbit. We didn't have clinical grade data sets. In some cases, SpO2. There were better, depending on the sensor and the location of the sensor,
Hmm.
determines the quality of the data that you're getting. Here, having clinical grade data sets is something that is absolutely critical in order for us to perform the therapeutic. Because if you think about it, in a world where our whole tech stack is built on AI and machine learning, so good data in is good data out. If you have bad data sets and AI is processing those bad data sets and then making assumptions and looking at other biometric health data sets, you're going to have some inaccuracies.
Some
And
skews.
so
Yeah.
to have a product like this that's out in the field that anyone can buy, it's cheaper than an Apple Watch. I think that's a really big deal. And
Yeah.
again, the most important thing is not necessarily the tracking. We talk about it, but it's really about the benefit as a sleep aid and what we're doing to improve sleep. So we're really excited about that.
I love it. And how has sleep personally affected you?
Well, it's interesting. I'm glad you asked that question. So before I started here, even like during my whole tenure at Fitbit, for the most part, I had an adult insomnia. So I actually struggled with sleep. I was
Mm.
taking THC and CBD edibles every single night to fall asleep. I was taking melatonin every single night. I mean, I was
Yeah.
doing everything. And it was an issue. I've since learned, since working here with our science team, that that was not healthy, was not good. Obviously, melatonin, as we all know, is a hormone. But part of the reason why I took the job at this company was when I was recruited by Vinod Khosla and Dr. Walker, I call him Matt, was that I tried the device. I actually fell asleep. So I stopped taking all of, everything because I wanted to
Yeah.
give this a fair shot. I fell asleep on my third session and I couldn't believe it.
Wow.
But I hated the product experience. It was multiple pieces. Back then the Gen 1 product had an electrode that was separate from the headband, and it was very complicated. Part of what made Fitbit successful is we took very complex data and information and we oversimplified it. And anything in healthcare, fitness, I think it's just life in general now, is how do you reduce friction? How do you create the best user experience? And so I said to Matt and Vinod and the team, the only way I would take this job is if you let me reset the entire company, starting with the supply chain, pulled everything out of China, reset the brand, relaunch the hardware roadmap, the services opportunity. We're expanding into enterprise, starting with the MBA, but we're
Cool.
now speaking to other companies. So, that plan that I put together a couple of years ago is finally starting to happen, and we're really excited about it.
Hell yeah, it's an amazing story. What what's the most fascinating thing you've learned about this new kind of neuroscience and sleep world?
I think the it's unlocking the last great mystery of the body, right? So the brain is that. And so being able to understand what's happening with the brain, how you can, we speak, electricity is the language of the brain. The brain is essentially, it's an oscillating system. Electricity is the language, and so we're using that to modify your brain rhythms. And in our case right now is to help you, sleep. There are other conditions that we have our eye on. I'm not going to get into that stuff right now, but I think allowing people to truly understand what's happening with their sleep, we're real
Yeah.
excited. And this is just the beginning. We rolled out this product, we rolled out the app and the service. We have a 3-year roadmap and vision that we're super excited about. So it's early days for us. I think when we roll out the API and we start looking at other data sets and what's happening in relation to sleep, not just with our data, but other health metrics, I think that gets really exciting. But yeah, for me, it's finally having a true understanding of what's happening with your sleep and being able to do something about it. And the challenge, and the scientists here basically say, you Fitbit and you guys kind of ruin sleep because everyone thinks those data sets are accurate, but
Right.
they're good at trends and understanding what's happening with your sleep. But at a day-to-day level, night-to-night level, to really understand what happened during that course of 8, 10, whatever, how many hours you sleep, to have that lens view into your brain is something that is absolutely awesome. And the power of that, it's only going to get better and better for us in what we're doing.
I love it, man. Yeah, I'm excited for everyone to start learning about Somnee. What is in
Mhm.
Tim's flow stack?
So, as I've gotten a little bit older and had some injuries, things that has fluctuated, is in particular over the last couple of years. But I absolutely love my Rogue Air bike. For me,
Hell yeah.
that is a game changer. I use it before I start every exercise. It's awesome. I'm addicted to it, so I absolutely love it. So I start my sessions, end my sessions with a Rogue Air bike. I belong to
Okay.
Equinox. Equinox is an awesome gym. Love working out there. They're right here, right next to UC Berkeley.
Oh, okay.
But I've kind of moved around. I was taking a lot of different supplements. Right now, I'm just using creatine. I'm
Okay.
trying to kind of pull back on what I'm consuming and what I'm putting in my body. I think for a while there, I just felt like a guinea pig with different supplements and proteins and everything else. And I'm trying to kind of reduce that. But
Are you on
creatine is,
do you like the powders or the gummies?
so I'm doing the powders are, from everything that I've read on the research, the powders are more effective and better. So I'm using
Yeah.
Transparent Labs.
Nice.
Obviously, there's a number of different brands that are out there. That's just what I'm using and what I like. I'm also, in terms of activity, I surf on a regular basis. So
Hell
for
yeah, dude.
me, surfing is, you know, it's not just a physical thing. So it's physical, mental. In some cases, it's spiritual. It's to be in the ocean, and it's a great workout, great cardiovascular workout, great back and upper body workout, but you get the benefit of the dopamine rush of surfing a wave and riding a wave, and hopefully having a really good session. Usually I'm surfing somewhere between two these days. It used to be 5 hours on the weekends or when we're down in Mexico, but it's somewhere between 2 and 3 hours. I have a son who's 13. He plays every sport, but he's really passionate about surfing. So it's fun being able to share that experience and joy with him and see him progress. And he now rips on a shortboard. He started out on a
Oh,
longboard. So, but yeah,
I love
surfing is
it.
important. I mountain bike. So I live in Marin County, where mountain biking was invented, up on Mount Tam,
Yeah.
riding Yeti, which I love. Trail run, so Dipsy and Mill Valley. So I'm pretty active. But when it comes to the products, the supplements. I just felt like I was taking so much for a while there, and I just wanted to let my kidneys, just let my body clear out. So right
Sure.
now I'm just taking creatine and that's it, and I'm good with that.
Cool. What about any sort of gear? Do you like any trail running gear or surf gear?
I'm a Brooks guy, so I
Brooks.
absolutely love Brooks shoes. I've been wearing Brooks for I wear Catamounts when I'm running, trail running. I've been wearing Brooks for I feel like almost a decade. I just absolutely love Brooks. As far as surf equipment, so I have Mateus wetsuits, Christensen shortboard, Bonzer, depending on the condition, and then if I'm out at Bolinas and I'm longboarding, I ride a Donald Takayama nose rider.
Okay.
Um, and then I mentioned, I ride on a Yeti, the Lunch Ride Edition, which is kind of a special edition bike, which I absolutely love. But yeah, that's the gear that I'm using. Talked about Rogue. In the winter, I do ride my Peloton. So I'll
Okay.
cancel my subscription, and then I start it again in the winter time just to get,
Sure.
some of those longer duration workouts. I'm still doing my Rogue bike, but I'm using Peloton in the winter, and then I should mention I also sleep on an 8 Sleep. That was a gift that from Vinod Khosla when I took the job here, and I absolutely love it because I sleep hot, and my
Same.
my partner, my fiance, she is the opposite, and it was always an issue, in relationships, just different body temperatures and just the frustration of like turning over, throwing the sheets off, the pillowcase, flipping the pillow throughout the course of the night, and the disruptions. So having 8 Sleep has been a game changer for me. And you don't have to spend it. They're pretty expensive for the average person. There are things you can do. Matt talks about if you go to our website, sign up for our email. We have Dr. Matt Walker's top 10 tips. One of the best things you can do is take a hot shower before bed to help lower your core body temperature. It's really critical that you do that as part of your sleep process. But using 8 Sleep, I love the autopilot. I don't know if you have an 8 Sleep, but they have an autopilot feature that basically adjusts the temperature with you throughout the night, which is great. But yeah, 8 Sleep has been magic. And of course, obviously, we've been talking about Somnee, and that's critical for me.
Right when you said 8 Sleep, it reminded me of a question I never asked about what kind of other wellness modalities, practices, or products are pairing well with Somni. Would you say that 8 Sleep would be one of them?
Yeah, so right now it's all about sleep, but we are rolling out an API. So we're going to be rolling out the API so that people can use that to plug into, there's other healthcare services. We have a
Very cool.
partnership. We announced 2 partnerships with Superpower. So we're rolling out the first blood biomarker to sleep. It's a closed loop solution and intervention. So based on the data sets they're seeing within the blood biomarkers. So we're excited about that. And then the data, our data will be bi-directional. We have a partnership we announced with Equinox Hotels. So we're, starting in New York. That'll be something we roll out worldwide. Actually, Matt designed all of the rooms at Equinox, which is pretty cool. I don't know if you go to New York, you have to stay at the Equinox Hotel. It's
Yes,
a
I
it's
will.
a beautiful experience, but the whole room is built around sleep.
Okay.
And so you will never find another or a better sleep experience at any hotel. We're really excited about that and the integration that we're doing with Equinox Hotels. So we've announced the kickoff of that partnership. There'll be more announcements to come out. But we have a number of other partnerships that we're going to be rolling out that looks at, right now, we're just tracking sleep, but we do have an interest in ingesting what's happening overall across your health and on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
Because for us, it's all we do is we care about improving your sleep. And there are other data sets that we can ingest that'll even continue to improve that. So we're really excited about that. And then the main thing is we're seeing a great response with women in perimenopause and menopause.
Mm.
They wake up on average 3 to 5 times throughout the course of the evening. So we're the first product of its kind that allows them to just a tap of the button. They're wearing the product. It activates the neurostimulation. We will be automating that with our own AI. So we'll roll that out in the second half of the year. But there's no other product of its kind that does that. So we're really excited about that functionality. So this is the beginning for us. Now that we have our Gen 2 product out. It's only been out for a month, but there's a lot of interest and a lot of engagement. So we're really excited about it.
Hell yeah, man. Amazing stuff. I'm a sleep nerd, so this episode's been just super interesting to me. I'm really excited for our listeners to get a chance to learn about Somnee, and we'll have to do this again in a few years.
Yeah. And if you're interested, go to somneesleep.com, SOMNEE sleep.com. Hopefully you'll provide a link to that. They can sign up for the newsletter. They'll get top 10 tips from Matt, and they'll go through the process. But we're really excited. If you guys need anything, have any questions, just reach out to me on LinkedIn, and we'll go from there. But yeah, I appreciate you taking the time to interview us and talk about Somnee.
Thanks, Tim.